Continuing with our basic financial modeling skills, we will be learning how to add rows and columns, delete rows and columns, edit cells, and we will also be learning the undo and redo functions. So these basic shortcuts are one of the most often used shortcuts in actual practice. And let's begin from adding the rows and columns. Okay. So many of you who are still using your mouse would probably click here on the right and then press insert. However, as you all know, we want to use our keyboards as much as possible. So in our previous session, we have learned how to select the entire rows and selecting the entire columns, right? And then the trick was to press Shift space or Control space to select the entire rows and columns. And when we're adding the rows and columns, the trick is to press on the Control key and the plus key at the same time. So as soon as you select the entire row by pressing Shift space, press the Control plus simultaneously, and it will automatically insert rows in your Excel spreadsheet. Just keep in mind that if you're using a laptop or if you're using MacBook that doesn't have a keypad on the right, it requires you to press the Shift key as well. So eventually you will be pressing Control Shift and then the plus key all together in order for you to perform the function. So once again, Shift space and then Control plus, Control Shift plus if you're using a laptop. Adding the columns is basically the same if you have understood how to add rows. We want to select the entire column by selecting the Control space at the same time. And then we want to press on Control plus. And that would add columns to your spreadsheet. On the other hand, if you want to delete your rows, you want to press exactly the opposite of what you have pressed when adding rows and columns. So instead of the plus key, we want to press the minus key. So it's very simple. Again, we select the entire rows by pressing on Shift space and then Control minus. Okay, Control plus, Control minus. Again, this time, if you're using a laptop, this time it does not require that you press on the Shift key simultaneously. Once again, Shift space, Control plus, Control minus. It's going to go the same for deleting columns, where it is Control space and then Control plus, Control minus. So very simple how to add rows and columns to your Excel spreadsheet. Next, how to edit cells in Excel. So let's say, for example, we want to change net profit, change the name to net income. And of course, you can always use your mouse to click on the formula bar up here and then, and then start editing, right? However, again, we want to use your keyboard as much as possible. So to enter the editing mode in Excel, we want to press the F2 function key. And as soon as you press it, you're going to see a little blinking cursor over here, and then you can begin to edit your cells. When you have finished editing the cells, we want to press the Enter key to exit from the editing mode. However, if you want to exit the editing mode without changing what you have just changed, we want to use the Escape key. So let's see. Pressing F2 to enter the editing mode, and then change this to change it back to profit. But if you want to change it to profit, you can press enter. If you do not want to change it to profit and then return to net income, you can press on the escape key, and that would exit from the editing mode. The F2 function would be very, very often used when you're performing financial modeling, and this is one of the reasons why many financial modelers get rid of the F1 key from their keyboards, which prevents you from pressing on the F1 key by mistake, which is very frustrating as it triggers the help function, which, to be honest, is not very helpful. So very often we see, new hires or interns who in investment banking or consulting, and maybe we see that their F1 key is missing or removed. We generally predict that he or she would, have higher than average skill sets in Excel. So maybe if you want to make a very good first impression, maybe one of the ways that you can do it on your first day at work is to get rid of the F1 key. Lastly, the undo function in Excel is one of the most often used functions as well. Not only in Excel, but also in PowerPoint, Word, or Microsoft Outlook as well. So, for example, let's say we changed this name to net profit, and we want to change it back to net income. Just press Control Z, and it will reverse the functions that you have just done. And if you want to redo what you have just undone, you want to press on Control Y, and that's going to take us back to net profit. So Control Z to undo your previous command, and Control Y to redo your command. So in this session, we have learned how to add and delete rows and columns, Shift space, Control plus, Shift and then Shift space, Control minus, and how to edit cells by using the F2 function key, how to exit from the editing mode by pressing Enter or pressing the Escape key, and also the undo and redo functions. In our next section, we will start to learn how to format your financial model just using your keyboards.